There's no knowing where we're rowing,
Rowing.
or which way the river's flowing. There's no earthly way of knowing
Rowing.
which direction we are going. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane a-blowing? Not a speck of light is showing, so the danger must be growing. Are the fires of hell a-bowing? Is the grisly reaper mowing? Yes! The danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing, and they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing! Ah!
Wait, you're not Gene Wilder.
No, he's dead.
Oh.
You made me sad.
You made me... You made your own self sad.
Yeah.
Ignoramus.
Ignore anus.
Don't mind me and my anus. Just ignore him. I brought it. He had to come. I can't leave him at home.
Well,
It's not safe.
You're talking to him on Discord.
That's it. I've added my own butthole on Discord.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Temporary Uncles podcast. It's been a while.
Since I said I'm sorry. Have we done that joke before?
I don't think so. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. You know what that's from?
Yeah.
What?
Charlie Puth Incorporated.
It's from Fast and Furious. So
From the Stravinsky's Mystery House, the soundtrack.
Strawinsky and the Mystery House.
Oh,
Yes. Oh, that's what I want to see now. A Strawinsky and the Mystery House and Fast and Furious crossover.
Igor Stravinsky. Is that actually what it's about?
I don't know what Strawinsky and the Mystery House is about. I just know that
It's
I
good
am the Globgo Gabgalab, the Schwabble Double Shribba Shrabba Shlibba Shlab Glab. I don't know if those are the lyrics, but that's what it's about.
And how long have you been a disgusting worm creature?
Oh, 5 minutes.
It's a miraculous transformation going from a small boy into a monstrosity, a Lynchian.
Calling me a small boy, says the man who is almost an entire foot shorter than me.
Maybe half a hand span, but a foot's a bit much.
Ben, don't act like you're not exactly 4'11".
I might act like that if I were, but I'm not. I've got a friend who's 4'11" and she's minuscule. You can fit her into your pocket.
Oh, that's very nice.
Into your breast pocket.
Into your breast.
Between your breasts. Would you put any of my friends between your breasts?
Oh, if they ask kindly.
So there's hey, look, Nick. I'm a big fan of your work. I've seen The Burgling. I've seen a robbery film. I've seen Gonna Steal Some Shit.exe, and I love it. Can I nestle myself betwixt your bosoms? Right? Abraham returned to the bosom of our Lord. Why can't I return to you?
Put you between my pecs, and I will shoot you back to Bikini Bottom. Like the Hasselhoff himself.
The Hoff.
Mm.
Is he still as big in East Germany as he was ever?
I don't know. You ask me these questions like you think I would know the answer, Benjamin.
I mean, you present to me as a wise uncle, as a wise and powerful grunkle. Yeah. a grunkle who lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Grunkle Stan.
And you say to me these things that makes me think that you know of which we speak. But then I find out that you was a 10 fortuitous and one.
You okay? Did you have a stroke?
Maybe. Earlier I tried to scratch an area around my temple and I pressed a little bit too hard and it gave me a headache. Do you want to talk about real things or do you just want me to ramble?
Oh, well, we've been rambling for the past fucking 5 minutes anyway.
For the past 3 or 4 years.
For the past, the past 9 years that we've known each other.
For 25 years I've known you.
And we're not even 25 years old. That's how long we've known each other.
You don't know that. There needed to be enough time for me and my siblings to have children. How else do you think I became an uncle?
Well, we're not actually uncles. We're
You can't say that.
We're temporary uncles. Uncles to the listeners at home.
I thought we were real. I married 3 different women
Well, that's your problem.
in an effort to attain
That sounds like a
unclehood.
you problem, then.
I thought we were in this together. I thought that we both decided to marry Sylvia with the knowledge that she had a sibling who had a child.
big birthing hips.
She had a big gay.
Okay. Let's actually talk about real things now.
What's real?
The world.
That's a question.
Yeah. Or is it?
No one, I think, is in my tree.
It has been way too long since the last episode of this.
How long's it been?
The last episode was the Terry Gilliam one, but the last real episode was at least a month ago.
The real one.
Well, episode 11. If I
Bona fide
remember
proper
correctly.
uncle.
Bona fide. Huh. And in that time, many things have happened.
Tell me. What are these things?
Well, one thing that happened was we recorded an episode of this and the recording disappeared. That's one thing that happened.
Oh, yeah, that was the one where it was all about Smeg.
Schmegm. And I don't want to talk about it now. I want to talk about Rocky Horror, which we went and saw
Oh.
like a month ago.
Yes, at the Her Majesty's.
Her Majesty's Theatre. We saw... And that's where I learnt where the Comedy Theatre was. And the Comedy Theatre is where we saw Don Quixote. Don Quixote.
And how was it?
Don Quixote. Well, we have a whole...
No, I've seen that.
No, it was very fun, very energetic. Todd McKenney is a very funny man. And I thought that Priscilla was the gayest musical I've ever seen.
Yes.
And yes, it is. It's still the
still-
gayest.
still the
Yeah,
gayest?
No, I don't think Rocky Horror has surpassed Priscilla as being a big gay.
The biggest gay.
The biggest of the gay.
I've got a friend in Dorothy. I've got a friend in Dorothy.
I've got a big gay.
Is my friend.
That's the gayest
How
one.
about you? What have you been...
What's the biggest gay that I've ever done?
You. But, no, what have you been up to since the last we recorded?
I've been just doing uni. I've just been tearing out my own greying hair from people that are saying, look, you have to write about this thing within 1,500 words, give or take 10%. But they'll go on and say, write about, like, 14 different things within, and give a level of detail that is reflective of you being in a second year of uni. And you go, great, I will. I'll give each little bit a couple hundred words. I'll cite my sources. I'll ask knowledgeable people. I'll talk to Jordan B. Peterson, and he'll say, you should read the Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It's the biggest indictment of the far left. What is too far? And then
Are you
go
sure
and
you're
try
not
and
just friends with George Lucas?
I want to put Jar Jar in the dominance hierarchy.
I want Jar Jar to be a Sith Lord.
Now, Sith Lord is representative of an archetype that Carl Jung talked about. This is only going to be interesting to a very minor subset of people. And then you try and you do it, and you do 3 or 4 different passes just trying to take words out of it. And eventually your sentences don't make sense anymore, because you have to change the tense and all that to take single words out. Because if you turn in work in the real world...
Of course, it started raining as soon as we start recording.
If you turn in...
It's been like rain free for the last 2 hours that I've been here, and as soon as we start recording, 9 minutes in, it starts fucking raining.
It's been pretty grim, but I like the sound of rain.
Yeah, but like, is this gonna sound good in this podcast?
Maybe. It fits with the tone. It fits with my anguish.
Yeah, I can't relate to you because even though I'm also in my second year of university, I haven't written an essay since year 12, so...
Fuck you!
I mean, my work consists of, like, making films.
Making various films where people steal various things.
The extent of writing for me is just like production briefs, paperwork, getting permission to shoot in certain places, and screenplays.
You sit down, you put in square brackets, they fight, and then hand it in and go, this is my script. And then you go and you film it, and you go,
I mean,
great, well done,
I mean,
pizza for everyone.
That's what I've done for one of my screenplays that I'm working on at the moment, which
There's
is
a lot of
for the
cheating in there.
Hotline Miami movie that I want to make. And I've already started the script ages ago. And one of the scenes I just couldn't be bothered actually writing the action, so I temporarily put in insert action scene.
It's like interior night. A man is seen to have passed out in front of his toilet. He throws up a mixture of vomit and blood. Square brackets. They fight.
Yeah.
Next scene.
Yeah. A masked man walks through the door. Insert action scene. A masked man leaves through said door.
Interior night. A man wearing a horse mask, a chicken mask, a rabbit mask, an owl mask all sit together, and Cliff Burton plays a mad bass solo.
Is that just not a dream you had?
Maybe, but that's also part of Hotline Miami. You know, when you go into like the room and there's all the animal people sitting there, there's some real just dank, overdriven bass. It's just
yeah. That's with Richard Rasmus and Don Juan.
Don Juan Creepalong.
Don Juan is a horsewoman.
Juan-
Richard is a rooster man, and Rasmus is an owl man.
Owl.
Man.
Owl.
Anyway, so I assume
Cool.
you're quite anguished with your uni work.
I mean, it's coming to the, sort of the tail end of it, because there are some things that have worked out quite well, and there are other things that are just dumbass.
Are you finishing this year, or do you have another year next year?
I've got another year of the undergrad, and then there's the fourth year, and then there's
God.
the doctorate.
Are you going for the doctorate?
Yeah, because you can't practice in Australia if you
You're
don't
going
have
to
one.
get the PhD.
Yes,
Ooh.
a doctorate
I
in
finish,
philosophy,
and I finish next year because I'm fucking lazy.
because you're doing a TAFE course.
Well, I can graduate into doing the third year of a bachelor, but I don't want to.
Oh, that's pretty sexy.
Yeah. Well, because the bachelor is mainly theory rather than prac, and I learn theory. I learn film theory in my free time, so I don't need to go to uni, spend $10,000 to learn more about what I do in my free time. I'm doing this TAFE course because it helps with my technical knowledge.
Well, I suppose it all
So-
depends on if you were to seek employment within the industry, whether there is a convention of people going, hey, what qualifications do you have, as opposed to just going, hey, can you do X, Y, and Z?
I've already got my foot in the door into getting into. I'm all technically part of the TV industry already, anyway, because I do set photography for a TV show called The Platform on Channel 31 Mondays at 8:30.
Well, because you don't have to be like licensed to make films. I suppose it's about whether you have the competency to do the things that they ask.
Yeah,
as
and
opposed
even
to
then, like
if you have the paper.
there are things you have to have a license for when filmmaking, like airsoft weapon usage and stuff like that. For example, if we were to make a movie out in public where we would need to use airsoft weapons,
Yes.
we would most likely need to have a license to be able to do so.
Yeah.
And I think licenses are expensive.
Does each individual need to be licensed, or is it
we
like
just
the
need
production?
the production company needs to be licensed.
Oh, okay.
I learned yesterday that H.G. Wells' novels are in the public domain,
Oh,
which means my brain is now saying, hey, you should make a movie out of The Invisible Man. Even though I think Universal is already working on one with Johnny Depp, but I don't know if that's still happening because The Mummy was had really bad reviews and did really poorly in the box office.
was Johnny Depp in that?
No, but it was supposed to open the door for their Monsters franchise, which honestly, stupid idea to open up the franchise with The Mummy.
Yeah.
You have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Invisible Man, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Creature from the Black Lagoon, The Wolfman, all these recognizable characters.
Yes.
And you decide to open up your franchise with The Mummy. One, not as recognizable a character as most of the other ones in the franchise. And two, a story that has been changed with every adaptation.
Well, yeah. Well, is the
Like-
mummy
like-
a recognizable character, or
They
is
don't
it just
even
a theme?
they don't even use the mummy that's in The Mummy. Like the original mummy was Imhotep, right? They don't have Imhotep in the new one. They've got some woman played by Sophia Boutella.
I don't know.
I haven't seen it. So, Sofia Boutella, she was leg lady in Kingsman. Metal leg lady in Kingsman. The first Kingsman.
It's been a while since I've seen that.
Okay. She's in a lot of things. Anyway,
I've no memory of
doesn't
the metal
matter.
leg lady.
Doesn't matter. They already do. So they already introduced Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in The Mummy.
Oh,
Which,
okay.
Which kind of says, hey, we're going to make a movie for this guy eventually.
I had no idea that they were part of the same universe. That they were. I thought...
They weren't originally. They were all just kind of separate movies that I think every now and then had a crossover.
Yeah.
But most of the time they were all separate movies that were just made by the same company. And part of like the same collection of films, but they weren't really connected.
I mean, it'd be like if
They're making it more of a shared universe kind of thing.
to me, that would be like if you're reading Ranger's Apprentice and like Ron Weasley turned up and it's just like, hi, and you go, oh, I didn't know that you're here.
Well, no, not like that at all. It's more that they have access to all these same characters, and they thought, well, instead of just making a bunch of standalone films based off of these characters, why not try and make them part of the same universe?
Why not staple them together?
It's an interesting thought,
strange
and I
fashion.
think it'd be really cool if they get it up and running to see movies with like Frankenstein and Dracula and like the Invisible Man and stuff.
All together.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. They've already been in the same movie together. Albert and Costello meet Frankenstein.
Yeah,
That had all of the Universal monsters in it.
I mean, if it's Abbott and Costello meet anyone, then they're not doing it with the intention for it to be serious.
They had all the original actors playing the same characters. They got Bela Lugosi back as Dracula. They had Boris Karloff come back as the Frankenstein's monster. I think the only character who didn't reprise his role was Claude Rains as the Invisible Man.
I like him.
Although interestingly, the Invisible Man was Claude Rains' second performance, and he's fantastic in it. He might have been a theatre actor before that. And I think so. They've got like because Universal recently released, so like before The Mummy came out, they released like kind of a group photo of some of the main actors together. And so they have Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe there because Russell Crowe plays Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And he's in The Mummy, and he plays Dr. Jekyll, and he becomes Hyde at one point. And so Tom Cruise is there, interestingly, instead of the actual Mummy. And then they have I'm pretty sure Johnny Depp will be the Invisible Man.
Right.
Javier Bardem is supposed to be Frankenstein's monster.
Okay.
And I think Sofia Boutella was in the photo, I think, as the Mummy. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
So like we have to wait until Valentine's Day next year for the next film in the franchise. So they are still working on the film. It's going to be Bride of Frankenstein. So they're going straight into Frankenstein 2 before making the first Frankenstein movie. But I guess it kind of makes sense because we've had a bunch of different Frankenstein movies over the last couple of years, right?
Over the last couple?
I, Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein. Already, we've had two fairly well-known movies come out with Frankenstein in the title within like the last 5 years.
I've seen neither of them.
Neither have I, but I know of them. They were originally going to start the franchise with Dracula Untold, but that also didn't do well. But I think because of the fact that when they made The Mummy, they put a logo at the beginning of the movie saying Dark Universe.
Right.
Which is like, the opening. It's supposed to be the name of the franchise.
So they're all going to be the Dark Universe.
Yeah, I think so. Now that they've actually put the logo there, they're now going, all right, I guess we have to make more now. Because otherwise we're going to look like idiots. We have this one movie where it opens with the Universal logo and then a world turns around to show Dark Universe.
The single Dark Universe film.
Yeah. Although I'm pretty sure Luke Evans is open to returning as Dracula, so...
In what movie was the Dracula?
Dracula Untold.
Oh, okay.
I just told you about.
Oh.
Anyway, there's that. But yeah, as I was saying, I'm interested in making like a movie based on H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man. Like a low budget movie, like in a few years or something.
What's the plot of the Invisible Man? Like, so is he not? He's a normal man, and then he becomes invisible.
He's a scientist, and
Right.
he becomes invisible, and he goes crazy, and he like books a room in this hotel where he wishes to be undisturbed while he tries to find a way to cure himself. But he's gone insane and he's kind of crazy. He's
So he was able to
kind
book a
of
room
evil.
while being invisible.
yeah, because he's got all these bandages over his face and a fake nose and like all these things, So he looks corporeal. You know what I mean?
If a floating pair of Groucho Marx glasses approached you and said, "Hey, can I please book a room on the 3rd floor?" Would you help them?
But so his whole face, his hands, everything's covered, so it just kind of looks like a guy with something, maybe like a skin condition or something. You know what I mean?
I've got arthritis.
And so it's a really good movie, though. I think it still holds up, even though it was made in 1933. So, like, some of the special effects are a bit dated, clearly, because it was made in 1933. But the majority of it still looks really good. Like, there's a lot of practical effects, obviously, but they did a really good job with making him look invisible in some scenes, like when he's taking off his clothes and stuff. Yeah.
I wonder how they went about that.
Well, they dressed... It's kind of like what they do now with people in, like, the morph suits.
Yeah.
So I think they had him in, like, black cloth or something, and they removed the black cloth. Because the movie's in black and white, so they had to use either a black or a white morph suit. I don't know if they had morph suits then. It would have just kind of been a mask or something. But yeah, and you could just watch it on Vimeo. It's like... And it's not even that long. It's an hour and 11 minutes.
Ah,
I'll send you the link.
I might watch that.
Yeah, I like it. I think Claude Rains does a great performance through just voice. You know what I mean? So yeah, and it's just, I just thought it was a really interesting movie. You want to list off just movies or something that you watched? I shouldn't. My list will go for like 15 minutes. If I go by movies that I've seen since the last we recorded. If I were to list all the movies without saying anything about the movies, it'd probably go for like 10 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
I watch a lot of movies.
I know.
I tend to watch at least one movie a day. At least. Sometimes more than one.
I would say that's a problem, but it's probably not.
And I've started watching Breaking Bad though, so yeah. And I'm in love with it. It's such a good show. Because I got the box set for Christmas last year. And I've been like, okay, well I've got too much free time on my hands now. So I've been watching like Netflix. I've been watching movies during the day, and then at night, like I watch Breaking Bad. I go disc by disc now. Because I'm not the kind of person who binges a lot. I'm not really. Because when I binge, I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Okay.
I feel like I can only go 4 hours at most before I feel like I need to do something else. It's not a attention thing. It's like my brain is going like, hey, okay, you've been doing this for too long. Go do something else now.
I reckon if I managed my time, I could actually enjoy myself in little spurts, as opposed to going, you know what, I don't feel like I should sit there for 6 hours and do any one thing. So I probably won't do it, and then I just don't. And I sit there and I waste my time in a different way.
I only have to go into uni 2 days a week now, and for the next 2 weeks, I only have to go into the city once a week because of the platform. Actually, no, this coming Wednesday is the last day of the platform.
For the year or
for the season.
Oh,
the show's now just hosted by Togsy and Warwick Kappa, so yeah. Which is cool. And the episode 8 that we recorded last Wednesday, there's such a great moment with Michael Chavello, who's a boxing commentator.
Yeah.
He was on last season and he recognized me, which is cool. He did this really good bit where he commentated over a video that Tugsy found of two bugs fighting. It's such a good moment. He has such an energy in his voice. He's fantastic.
Well, you want someone that sort of inspires the watcher,
yeah.
because you can watch something completely unaccompanied, and I suppose that if you're a great fan and a great appreciator of any particular art or sport, you can go, right, I'll appreciate this for what it is. But then people that are kind of casual, as it were, for their passion for whatever it happens to be that you're watching, the footage on its own might not do it for you. But if you have someone else that's excited, then you get excited about them being excited.
Exactly.
And you go, this guy is going to lose his nut watching this.
Exactly.
I want to watch it because he is going to tell me how to feel about this thing.
Yeah.
And then you love it.
Exactly.
And then you kiss.
Yeah.
Oh. Don't blow that in my face. Earlier I burped and then I also inhaled, and like a millisecond later It was disgusting.
Well, I saw BlacKkKlansman in cinema. I'll just talk about the movies I've seen in cinemas.
I really wanted to
BlacKkKlansman.
see BlacKkKlansman.
Really good,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's a spoiler to really say this because you'll probably experience it as well. But I feel like the ending was a little unnecessary. They basically go from the 70s and then start showing footage from modern day riots.
Oh, yeah.
And obviously it's powerful. It's good stuff, but it doesn't meld well with the movie that was just shown, I think. And I completely understand what Spike Lee was doing, and I completely, I get where he's coming from, and I understand what he's doing, but me personally, I think it was unnecessary. It's too unsubtle. The rest of the movie has this really great message about racism.
Yeah.
And it has a really good ending, and then it switches to this modern day footage, and then a tribute to the people who passed away in one of this terrorist things. And the terrorists were white people.
So the plot actually wraps up and the film ends, but then they also just tack on an outro.
Well, because then they also show footage of, for example, David Duke, played by Topher Grace, the guy in real life, the real David Duke. They show him rallying up modern KKK people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just I feel like it would have worked better on a different movie, I think. So, maybe if Spike Lee had made a documentary about modern day KKK members and stuff.
Well, actually, I watched a document. I've actually seen it twice now because once I saw it at Michael's and the other day I watched it of my own accord, and it's. I don't think it was Louis Theroux. I think it was I think it was some other people that were doing it.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because they go into this town. It's somewhere in middle America. It's a very small town, and there's a following a KKK chapter, the Aryan Knights, I think is what they're called.
Because they don't like being called the KKK anymore.
I think that's just what
basically what they are.
Oh yeah, well they are the KKK.
It's like they don't. It's like how a lot of them don't like being called white supremacists or neo-Nazis, even though that's what they fucking are.
Yeah, well that's just what their local chapter is called. It's like how you have each church, and it's called a blah 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 church.
Okay.
So they're the Aryan Knights and some other such thing, and it's so strange because they wear these satin robes that looks like something that a small child would wear in a school play, and they've got and they're all their titles. None of them are like captain or major.
It's like Grand Wizard.
Yeah, it's shit. Hi, I'm the Grand Dragon of the local KKK chapter, and you go,
yeah,
really, and it's all about, and they're like, look, we're not racists. We're not a violent group. We're nice people. We just think that white people are the best.
That's what BlacKkKlansman portrays David Duke as. Yeah.
Look, we don't want no fights. We don't want to lynch no niggers. But we just think the white people are the only people that should be allowed. And you go, I don't know if that makes it any better. Just saying, it's like, we don't think the black people are worse. We just think the white people are better.
Yeah. But to end my thoughts on BlacKkKlansman, it's a fantastic movie. The movie as a whole is brilliant. It's just the ending, and I think it's also because it is the ending. Yeah. It kind of leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth as you leave. Whereas the rest of the movie, I'd say the good ending leaves you with a nice feeling. Yeah. And it's a real feel-good moment. It's a real hey, we beat racism kind of
we
feeling.
Won.
That
Hooray.
kind of feeling. And it's it's warranted in the film. It's not one of those tacked on happy endings. It's a happy
There
ending.
is an actual triumph.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then it does the second ending. Yeah. That I'd consider it the second ending. And then I'm like, I feel bad. And I guess that was probably Spike Lee's intention. But then it sort of kind of undermines it immediately by playing a Prince song over the credits. The credits should have been silent if he really wanted that effect.
Yeah, if he wanted people to be like, oh, I have to do something now. But if you end up on like Raspberry Beret.
Well, it's an unreleased Prince song.
Oh yeah.
He went to the Prince's estate and asked. Well, I don't think he asked if they had any music for him, but I think he was like, "I want to end it on a Prince song."
Yeah.
And the Prince's estate was like, "We got just the thing for you, man." And they gave him a song that hadn't been released before.
Have you heard Kevin Smith talk about Prince?
No.
I'll link it to you later. It's great because Prince apparently was a fan of Kevin Smith's work, and he asked him to shoot a documentary for him. So it was he released an album called The Celebration. It was a very interesting, like, religiously based album, and he invited a small handful of people over to Paisley Park where he lived, and to listen to the album, talk about it. And Kevin Smith was there to film it.
Yeah.
And Kevin Smith was quite confused as to why Prince chose him as opposed to getting someone else or a documentarian.
Yeah.
And he goes on at length about all of the peculiarities of Prince. And one of the things that he mentioned was that Prince had a huge back catalogue of unreleased material. Like many, many fully budgeted and costumed music videos for songs that no one had ever heard because they hadn't been released.
Wow.
Just so much shit.
Wow.
So yeah, apparently that all existed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
maybe it's like planned so that he will live beyond his death.
Possibly. Well, I don't know whether he...
Like David Bowie, he had plenty of unreleased music before he passed away that they released in an EP on the first year anniversary of his death.
Yeah, it was a No Plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of musicians did have a lot of material left behind.
Yeah.
Like with Freddie Mercury.
It doesn't seem that unusual because plenty of musicians just make music that they don't release.
Yeah, so some stuff just sits around because
You
they didn't
probably
like
have
it.
some unreleased music. I have unreleased music.
Yeah, well, there's lots of people make things and make demos certainly, and then they sort of listen back to them a week later and go,
most of
that's not very good.
Most of my unreleased music is unfinished. In fact, it's barely started.
I mean, I haven't released anything. So.
We need to start doing stuff with. We need to start making music together because we said that we'd start making music together like 2 months ago, and we haven't even started.
Oh yeah, well, there's just been other pressing matters.
I think once the uni year finishes, we'll have a lot of free time to actually do stuff.
Oh yeah.
I still want to get that Polygon Dwanaland video done. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, just think with BlacKkKlansman. Why is it that the black guy decided to talk to the KKK as opposed to getting the guy that was gonna see them? Why didn't he get him to talk? Because wouldn't they sort of pick up? And
It's explained in the movie. It's explained in the movie.
Hey, I was wondering, can I join the KKK? And they go,
okay. So the thing about Ron Stallworth is that there's a line earlier in the movie that he's fluent in jive, but he can speak like a normal person too. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm fluent in both English and jive. So he can speak like a white person and he can speak like a black person.
Excuse me, stewardess, I speak jive.
Yeah. So when he's on the phone with the KKK member, he's like speaking like a white man.
I just wouldn't risk it.
In his words.
Well, but if you're gonna get Adam Driver to go in there, it would be so much
Adam
safer.
Driver doesn't sound like John. They do talk about it in the movie that they don't sound alike at all. But,
I mean, it's good that they address it because I suppose that they came up with the premise and just like went, look, it's kind of silly.
No, it's based on a real thing. It's based on a true story.
And in real life, the black guy actually rang them up and spoke to them, and then they got the guy
alive.
who was going to be...
The guy's still alive.
It just sounds...
It was only the 70s.
It just sounds so unsafe. That they would risk that the guy that was talking to them on the phone was going to sound enough like the guy that was going to see them in real life.
And that risk is shown in the movie.
Earlier I was going to say... Is this based on a true story? And I expected you to be like, no, of course not. I just didn't ask.
It is. And the what's great is that the movie starts with the title card saying this based on some real shit for real.
So
for real shit, yo.
This is based on a true story, and only the names and events have been changed.
Yeah. No, even the names are the same. David Duke, Ron Stallworth, it's all the same. Stallworth Brothers, Knights of the KKK.
Funk Soul Brothers.
Anyway, so last week I saw The Nun in theaters, and I thought that was good. It was a good horror movie, but not as good as like some of the other Conjuring movies. But I think it was still a solid movie. I still need to watch Annabelle. So I've seen all the other Conjuring movies. I just haven't seen the first Annabelle. I saw Annabelle Creation in cinemas, and that was great. So I think David F. Sandberg's a good director. I think Shazam will be his best movie, just because you tend to get better with experience.
Usually,
Lights Out wasn't as good as Annabelle Creation because Lights Out was his first time doing a feature. Annabelle Creation was his second. And
Lights Out's the one with the blind guy where people break into his house.
No, that's Don't Breathe.
Oh, okay.
Lights Out is the one where there's a creature that only appears when you turn the lights off.
Oh, that sounds spooky.
Yeah,
Why don't they just keep a lamp on?
that's what they do.
To Minecraft, you got to keep a torch. But then you get a huge electricity bill, and you're like, well, I can either pay my utilities or get killed by a monster.
But I think Lights Out made good use of its concept. It's one of those horror movies that suffers from too much explanation.
Yeah.
We learn too much about the monster, I think.
Because it demystifies it too much.
Demystifies it, exactly. And then we're just well, then why is it a monster now?
It's like how they show you...
It used to be a person.
They show you the Johnny Depp-ass goddamn monster in Babadook, and you go, oh, great.
Well, that's different because they don't really explain what it is. They show it for a few frames and that's about it.
If it's in a word or in a book, then it's something Babadook. That's all you need to know.
Got a book.
That's a book. It's in a word.
But yeah. I think The Nun is The Nun actually, yeah, it kind of like the Babadook. Well, that's an example you give, but the Nun I think falls into Evil Dead camp territory a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It gets a bit silly.
It gets a bit silly for a few seconds at a time, though.
Oh, it's
most of the time it is real horror imagery, but every now and then it just kind of a monster makes a certain facial expression, or something slightly silly happens, and then it kind of breaks the tension a little bit, but then immediately... Well, not falls over. It's just kind of for example, the nun, the titular nun is just kind of sometimes.
Too.
Yeah.
They're walking around a basement, and you see a scuttering
the good thing about that is that they don't explain the monster too much, so that's good.
Is it explained that she's a nun? And
it's a demon in the form of a nun.
Oh, well, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah. The nun is based on the character from Conjuring 2.
Oh.
Valak.
But
one thing I could say about the nun is that it's spooky.
Oh, I suppose that in a horror movie, that's what you're after.
Yeah, I think one thing I love
Good
about watching
spook.
horror movies in cinemas is being with other people. Is other people's reactions. Something like Hereditary, not really the best horror movie to watch in cinema. Well, okay, so it's great to watch Hereditary in cinemas because the atmosphere, being in this large dark room with this genuinely scary movie.
Okay.
Hereditary was fantastic. But, unfortunately, a lot of people in the audience laughed at moments that shouldn't be laughed at. That happens a lot.
Really?
Oh,
in most horror movies?
No, just in general. Watch a movie and then something that's supposed to be dramatic. So, okay, have you seen Captain America Civil War?
I've seen one of them.
Well, anyway, in Captain America Civil War, I won't spoil... I won't spoil anything. I won't say character names.
Okay.
Character 1... you don't even know what I'm talking about because you haven't seen the movie.
Of course not.
But, so a character falls from a really big height and is presumed dead.
Yes.
And so, Iron Man, because it's not spoilery to say that he's there.
Yes.
Iron Man goes over to the character and is like, "Oh my god, this character could be dead."
Yeah.
And then the character who was responsible for that person falling at a height walks up to them, and Iron Man blasts them away, which in a real dramatic moment. And unfortunately, because it's a Marvel movie, and God forbid Marvel have a genuinely heartbreaking moment, the people laughed at him blasting away the other character.
Just because the timing was funny?
The timing was slightly funny, but the scene itself was dramatic. You know what I mean? And because Marvel has such
There's
And
a comedic expectation in a
exactly.
Marvel
I
film.
think that's the problem with why. That's one of my problems with Marvel being so comedic. Is that when they do attempt to make genuinely heartbreaking moments, it's undermined by the fact that their movies are largely comedies.
Because people are looking for a punchline. They sort of go, where's the
and
next funny?
That's the problem, is that when Joss Whedon was in charge, that was his philosophy. You can't have a serious moment in a movie. You have to finish it with a punchline. For example, the big cathartic ending to the big battle in Avengers is then undermined by Iron Man going, "Hey, let's go get some shawarma."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know shawarma is? I've never had shawarma. You want to get some
Like
shawarma?
the scene, okay, so the scene where Iron Man is like he's like unconscious after falling from space, and Hulk roars and it scares him back to life. That's funny, and is then ruined by Iron Man talking about shawarma. And that's actually a good funny moment, which is ruined by trying to be funny moment.
Okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, where there's,
Joss Whedon
where there's
is
like a aha.
Joss Whedon is the king of making something. He's the king of trying too hard to be funny. It's like in Justice League when Flash is talking about brunch. Very clearly, Joss Whedon's addition to the scene, trying way too hard to be funny because he already had a funny ending to the scene in Flash saying, "I need friends," and is then undermined by trying too hard to add on to that funny. Which is then made worse by the fact that it's very obviously a reshoot because the background shifted slightly, Flash has got a different haircut, and the color grading's different.
It's like there's a difference between like a Seinfeld joke and like a Two Broke Girls joke. Where
Yeah,
one
exactly.
is like, this situation is funny. The things that are happening in it are humorous because they're nuts. And then there's the contrast with like here's my punchline. It's my boobs.
Exactly. I think there's a difference between a joke and a punchline.
There's humor and there's making a joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And so that's what I think is the difference between... That's the difference between DC's sense of humor and Marvel's sense of humor.
There's something funny and there's being funny.
Being funny, exactly. For example, one of my favorite moments of humor in Batman v Superman is Doomsday is aiming his face at Batman, and Batman's just like, "Oh shit." And that's something Batman would say because he's like about to die. And it's slightly funny, but also still has a dramatic edge to it because, oh shit, Batman's about to die.
Yeah.
And then Wonder Woman saves him. Yeah. But that's a funny moment. Or another funny moment would be when basically anything that Alfred says. You know, when he goes, perhaps a young woman from Metropolis will make you honest in your dreams, Alfred. And I like a lot of the dry humor in the DC movies is that it's just dry humor, and that's Batman's sense of humor.
It's just about trying to cope with a shitty existence.
Exactly. Swap that for what Joss Whedon did to Batman in Justice League. Stuff like he's on the ground and is like, something's definitely bleeding. Ah ha ha, so funny. Ugh. And it ruins the tension between the bit earlier when Superman says, "Do you bleed?" at Batman, right? And then drops Batman on the floor, and Batman's like, "Yep, something's definitely bleeding." Or like when Superman comes into the big final battle and is like, "Did you miss me?" Or like, "I thought you didn't like me." And Batman's like, "I don't not like you." And it's like, no, Batman's not a jokester. He's got a dry sense of humor, but he's not a jokester. You save those lines for well, not even Superman, because like, I don't get why people are always saying like, "Oh, why Superman is so serious in these movies?" When like if you watch any of the cartoons or read any of the comic books, that's what he is there too. He's serious.
Yes,
maybe a bit more lighthearted than he is in Man of Steel, but he's still serious. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Tell me, is there a problem which I can help you with?
Yeah,
I am Superman. I will help you now. Congratulations.
You've just got like a Jim Carrey facial expression now. I take it you watched a lot of Jim Carrey as a kid?
Yeah, fair bit.
So did I. I feel like that's gone into a lot of... Like, we've probably practiced Jim Carrey-esque faces a lot, and so we've kind of got rubber faces. I like that.
Excuse me.
I don't know why we're doing that now in a auditory medium as a podcast. So one thing I wanted to just make a quick mention of on the podcast. I reached 1,000 subs. And
You're welcome.
I'm just very happy about that. I already made a video about having 1,000 subs earlier, so I don't need to go on about it now. But I was just saying, yeah, thank you very much. And any of you 1,000 people who are actually listening to this podcast, thank you especially.
Anyone who listens to this podcast, thank you.
Yeah, actually, no, anyone who does listen to this podcast, thank you. Because this podcast doesn't get as many views as anything else on this channel.
This channel doesn't get many views, full stop.
That's all I really have to talk about. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Not really.
I feel like I've been talking more than you have.
Well, you've got more to say.
Talking about, BlacKkKlansman, Universal Monsters, Venom, other things.
I haven't done anything that's interesting lately.
I guess because I've got more free time, I can watch more movies. So.
A lot of it's just like, hey, I like tinkered around by myself. Wasn't that cool?
You tinkled by yourself.
I do. I tinkle mostly by myself.
Every now and then he needs someone else to help him.
I haven't peed in tandem since I was like 5.
Don't kid me around. You've peed with another man.
Yeah, when I was like 5.
After there.
I've not peed with another man.
You have not peed with.
I've not. And I have not peed together. No, I can assure you. We've performed many other functions, but we've not peed together.
You've not done it inside each other's mouths before?
No, we haven't peed into each other's butts yet.
I didn't say anything about butts.
That's how you get pregnant.
Fucking homo.
Look, I'm not ready to have a child with. All right, we've discussed maybe getting a house, but I'm not ready for him to pee in my butt. Can
we get him on the next episode?
Sure.
Can we talk about peeing in his butt?
We go so. I hear that you like to pee in Ben's butt.
Okay, anyway, that's it for this episode of the Temporary Uncles podcast. Follow us on Twitter at TempUncles. Send us funny emails, tempuncles@gmail.com. And,
We'll appreciate if we get one.
I haven't checked for a while, though, so we very well could have.
What if we've got a backlog of like 10 and we just...
haven't looked at them?
Oh, that's not likely.
I will look at them before the next episode.
Alright, well,
Okay, see you, scrotums, later.
don't be afraid to pee in your butt.